Hello, lovebirds. Welcome back. Today, I'm going to be introducing you to a good friend of mine. She is going to be going by the name of Jill, and together we will be sharing some of the good, the bad, even the awesome experiences we've had with dating. As always, if you are enjoying the content we are giving you, please give us a like, a follow, a subscribe, even a rating, or fill out the survey at the end of a Spotify. All this information does help me increase what you like, decrease what you don't like, so that I can give you some more content that you like putting in your ears. If you think you'd be a great guest, I'm going to link everything in the show notes, but please reach out. We'd love to hear from you and get you on the show if you have a couple of stories you want to share. And if it's too much and kind of scares you to get on, write in. I'd love to read your love letters on a special series I plan on doing with this collection. And I'm going to compile the letters you write in, as well as some other content I've kind of gathered up. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy episode 3. We're going to call this one, Use Your Words.
I'm nervous because you're going to be the first girl. I feel like you should have like scary stories to tell, you know?
I don't have scary stories.
It's probably good then.
See, that's the thing. It's like I know people that have shit, but I don't have as much.
All right, let's start it off then. I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm getting ideas already.
Okay.
All right, so today we have Jilly with us. I'm going to start it off like I usually do. What's your status?
Technically, my status, is in a relationship.
She's taken.
Currently taken.
And you don't have to talk about the specific group. I already know about it. But if you want to share, how did you guys meet?
We met in a Facebook group for like-minded individuals. And yeah, we met in there. He added me as a friend on Facebook, and then we became friends on Instagram about 6 years ago. And yeah, then we started just DMing each other funny memes, and just, yeah, we had a lot of common interests. We liked a lot of the same sports, rival sports teams, but same sports. We liked doing the same hobby. We had the same hobbies that helped. And then we met in person a couple months later, and yeah, we just started dating like that, I guess.
How do you just on a Facebook group? Like, did you see each other and you were like, holy cow?
I thought he was super hot, but he would post, and I noticed a lot of the other girls in the group would like leave flirty comments, and so because he's an attractive guy, and when you find an attractive guy that's single in a Facebook group like that, you can kind of see that other people are migrate towards that person. And yeah, and so we became, I left like a funny, wasn't like flirting with him. I just left a funny comment under one of his pictures on the group, and he like immediately he added me. And then, which was, I was actually really surprised that he added me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is really cute. And then once I realized that we actually had a lot more things in common, I was like, oh, I want to meet this guy in person. And we lived probably, because of where I lived and where he lived with traffic, it would like a 2-hour drive one way.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And so he would come up to my house, or I would go down to his house, and we just spend like the weekends together, basically, because we both work during the week. So that's what we did for a while.
It wasn't even COVID. I mean, I had to do that.
That was before. That was definitely before. It was before COVID because we met in 2017.
I'm like, every time. I mean, I met my boyfriend before COVID, but it was the same thing. It's like I have to either drive there and like commute back and forth constantly, or I'm staying for a couple days and.
Yeah, especially when it's long distance like that, you have to. It is like I'm going to spend the weekend with you type of thing. So there's no real commuting because that would have been a miserable drive to and from work.
When you guys didn't see each other, how did you communicate? Was it text, phone call, FaceTime?
Lots of text. We text because he also worked graveyard shift. So our awake times when we were apart were opposite. So yeah, it was a lot of text. Every once in a while we'd FaceTime, but it wasn't. I mean, looking back at it now, if we were in a similar situation, we probably would FaceTime. Like we FaceTime now all the time, even though we live together.
Yeah. And
So, or send video messages to each other.
And he's not the only one that you've met through Facebook groups.
Correct. Correct. I actually met my ex-husband through a Facebook mutual friend or something like that. I forget. That was forever ago. He added me, and for some reason, I just like always kept him on my friends list. Like even when I would go through like times of like deleting people and coming back, like I just kept him on there. I don't know why. I have no idea why. And then of course in my head I was thinking, oh well, it must be fate when he like I was in town because at that point I was living in Northern California when he actually like started messaging me he started messaging me. I was living in Northern California, but I was visiting Southern California. I was house sitting for a friend, and he was like, hey, are you going to go to this event? And I was like, oh, I want to, but I'm house sitting and I can't really, because he saw that I was in town. And from there, we just started going back and forth, just messaging each other back and forth. And yeah, I went back up to Northern California after house sitting and we continued talking. And yeah, he came up and visited me. Well, actually, let me back up. Our first date, our first time
like, wait
meeting in person.
A long distance queen over here.
Yeah, kind of. Because our first time that we actually met in person, I drove down from Northern California to Southern California, and then I met him at his house, and we actually spent the weekend in Vegas. So our first date was in Vegas, and we got very, very drunk. We had a blast, and
did you go clubbing or like gambling or?
I think we gambled a little bit, but mostly it was just drinking. Like we're gonna go drink, and we went to. See, it got very fuzzy really fast because I remember I remember looking at photos in my phone the next day and being like, "Wait, we took the tram?" Like I did not remember taking the tram back to our hotel at all. He had friends that lived in Vegas as well, so we did at one point go meet up with his friends. But yeah, so then after Vegas, I went back to my home in Northern California. He came and visited me like once or twice. I came and visited him a couple times. And then, yeah, he was like, quit your job and move in with me. And I was like, okay. And that was not the smartest idea. I had never quit a job without having another job lined up.
Yeah.
So, but then we got married.
Worked out for a while.
Yeah, it worked out. I mean, now we're divorced, but so there's that. That was my other Facebook type relationship. Neither one of the guys that I've met catfishes though. Thank goodness.
I don't know, like, 'cause my uncle uses Facebook to date, and I don't know how he does it. Like, I was asking.
There's an actual Facebook dating thing now.
Is there?
That's what I've heard. I mean, and I think that there's groups, like specific dating groups,
Yeah.
like singles groups.
I know he's trying to get back out there and, meet as many people, but this is my favorite part about him. He will go to your house, like, on his motorcycle, just fully leather chaps, everything. He's even got, like, a leather fedora type motorcycle cap that buckles on your neck. It's the cutest. But he will show up. He'll show up with flowers. He'll take you on a date. And my uncle is, like, not a big talker. You'll be on the phone with him, and if there's one pause, it's like, all right, I'll talk to you later. Bye. And he just hangs up on you without you. You might be thinking, like, what you're trying to word something in the middle of a sentence. Be like, all right, talk to you later. Just hangs up. So he's not a big talker. So he goes and he meets these girls off of Facebook, goes, picks them up, wines and dines them. He take them on motorcycle rides around Chicago or whatever he does. I don't know. But if it doesn't work out, the first date, if it doesn't work out, he'll show up to your house the next day with flowers and break up with you.
Oh,
I was asking my cousin, and I was like, wait, he does know, like, they're not, like, official, right? Like, it was just a first date. And she's like, yeah, he's old school. He goes over and just says, hey, it wasn't working out. I'm not going to see you anymore. And gives them flowers.
wow.
So adorable.
I mean, a simple text message would be fine for me, but be like, oh, okay, I'm good.
Could you imagine you meet somebody? I mean, California's so massive, so you meet somebody from, like, Grindr.
Probably not Grindr.
They pick you up, they take you out. The next day, they come back over with flowers. Hey, just not gonna work out. I'm just not into you.
I wouldn't know. I would be dumbfounded. Probably. I'd be like, oh, okay. I appreciate the closure.
Right? I was always gonna work with it,
I mean, good for him for having the nerve to be able to do that.
I love it. I'm like, guys should keep doing that. They should at least show up with flowers, but, like, afterwards they should tell you, like, why it didn't work out. I want, like, feedback.
So you should send them. I mean, not you, but people should get in the habit of sending, like, a Google survey afterwards. Like,
right?
How would you rate this date? And just put how did it go? What were your thoughts?
It's anonymous.
Yeah. And just leave some honest feedback. Maybe it went great, but they didn't give off that vibe. And then you're left sitting there thinking, like, oh, I don't think he liked me that much. When really, he's just awkward.
Yeah.
So I think that helps.
But yeah,
I think knowing where the other person stands helps.
Right? It's like, oh, okay, I should work on that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I watch a lot of those shows, the dating shows, and it's like, I'm not going to change for this person. And it's like, well, maybe if somebody had given you feedback a long time ago, you wouldn't be that way, Like,
yeah, you wouldn't be on this dating show. Shoot. I mean, I feel like people have a hard time taking feedback because they get very, very defensive. They feel like it's an attack on their personality and stuff. But I think being aware of, maybe they didn't like how you did something that you didn't even realize you did. And whether or not you choose to change it, that's fine. You're probably not going to date that person again anyways. But at least you're aware, like,
you hear
I do this weird thing when I eat.
Google survey, you might change. You might be like, oh,
yeah.
I need that.
If you get enough responses back from people saying, you eat weird. I don't like the way you hold your fork.
Close your mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Or you were rude to the waitress and you didn't even realize it,
Right.
The RBF.
Now, I'm trying to remember, like, because the Vegas thing is bringing up memories. Do you remember when we met?
I don't remember the first time we met.
I remember being in a bar,
Yeah.
and I remember being in, like, that front area of the bar where the benches were, and we were wasted. That's, like, all I remember. I don't remember any other people. I just remember being wasted in the front of, like, and I don't know if they had fireplaces outside.
I don't remember. Because I know that we went out quite a few times. But
First time, I'm like, dude, we were so wasted. Like,
that's probably why I don't remember it. But it was always like fun when we would go out, because I feel like the other people that we went out with, some of them were there to find guys, and you and I were just literally there to have a good time. Like, if we talk to guys, whatever. But I do remember one time I went out with you, and we went out until, and I was kind of dating somebody. And we weren't dating that long, but I wasn't feeling it with him. And I told him I didn't want anything. I was like, I'm not hanging out with you tonight. I'm going out. And he drove an hour to where I was living, and he waited in his truck until we got there. You dropped me off at like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I just remember us pulling into the park or the street, and being like, "Oh, is that his truck? Why the hell is he here?"
I feel like I did that, and I should
vaguely remember that.
Sober because I was a driver, right? Like,
I don't know if you were actually driving, but I know that you were in the car, and I know we had spent the whole night out of the area.
yeah.
And I just remember being like, all of us like in the car, why is he here? Because I think we started off the night drinking Four Locos in the back seat.
Oh, that's why I don't remember.
I have pictures of that night still.
Oh, that's great.
And the only reason I can specifically remember that night was because when we showed back up to the house, he was sitting outside, and I was like, why are you here? And he was like, I just needed to see you. I was like, I told you I was not going to see you last night. Like, it was very clear that I was going out with my friends.
And that didn't last?
No. He was very, very upset about that, that we dated for 28 days. He counted them. And he was very upset that I was ending it after 28 days. Mind you, we had plans on Valentine's Day. I made him dinner at the house, and he told me probably 20 minutes after he was supposed to be at my house that he wasn't going to make it because his mom was alone on Valentine's Day, and he was upset that his dad didn't do anything for his mom. So he stayed home with his mom and asked if we could reschedule. And I was like, I guess. But I was like,
you're like, bring her over. She'll be
well, like I said, he lived an hour away. So I was like, you're telling me like 20 minutes after you were supposed to be at my house, after not answering any of my messages, that you're not going to come, or that you don't think you're going to make it? Like, even if you left your house right now, it's going to take you an hour to get here. All the food's going to be cold. And I made him like a really nice dinner. And yeah, so I was like, this is obviously a red flag that you're going to choose your mother over me, and couldn't even communicate it to me.
I feel like communication, guys should go to more classes on that.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, that's one thing that I'm trying to teach my kids. Like, listen. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Yes, use your words. It's okay to express your emotion and be vulnerable for 5 minutes. I know everybody has trauma, but come on.
Yeah. Like, tell me how you really feel with more words.
Yes. And if you don't want to say it verbally, you put it in text. Or write it down, or send an audio note.
I dated this one guy. It's funny because he wasn't waiting for my house. He was just at my house. He moved into my house without, like, I told him no. I don't want you living here. And he's like, and I was living with my dad at the time, and he goes, your dad will be cool with it. And I'm like, no, we don't want you there. And he asked my dad, and my dad was like, what'll Lily want you to, I guess. And I was like,
Oh,
no.
how awkward.
And so he moved in, and there was a day, the same kind of thing. I was going out with, I was in massage therapy courses, and we used to just party after class every day. We'd go get our hour massage, give an hour massage, and then get out of class and just go home and party at each other's houses. And we were all supposed to go have like a reunion or something. I forget what it was, but we were going to go to this restaurant that wasn't too far away. And so I told him, you're not going, and I'm going without you. And my friend came to pick me up. He ran out. He was in the shower, so he ran out, basically not even dried off, in his boxers, crying, please don't leave. And I'm like, dude, I told you I'm going with my friends. Like, stop. And I just jumped in the car, and I was like, drive. My friend's like, but what? He's crying for you, Heather. I'm like, no, go now. Go.
Like, oh no. See,
Yeah.
like back like 10 to 12 years ago, like guys, like that was one of my pet peeves, was like guys crying, right? Now I'm a little bit more sensitive to them. Because I get, like, as much as like I wanted back then guys to communicate with me, I was also so scared to communicate myself and say what was really bothering me. Now I'm like, okay, I understand, like everybody has to feel their emotions. But I think most of my issues with the guys that would cry, I didn't feel like they had a justified reason to be crying. Like the fact, you know what I mean? It was just weird things that I was not okay with. I was like, why are you crying about this? This is pointless. You know, you're
Right.
crying over a 28-day relationship, and then I look at it now, older and wiser, and saying, oh, okay, I get he was crying because he really had feelings for me, and even though my feelings were not in that place, like he's justified to have those emotions.
Yeah. No, he didn't even want me to leave.
Oh my gosh.
It's too funny. Crazy.
Please.
Now, bad dates, like we've all had them.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any that like stick out to you?
I haven't been on a lot of dating apps, but way back when I was on Plenty of Fish, and I met this guy, and we had chatted a little bit, and he seemed pretty like on the same page as me. And so we meet at a billiards bar, and he had a very nice car, which I knew he made a lot of money. I knew that he was smart, and on paper everything looked good, right? But when I parked, there was like an open spot next to me, and I was like, oh cool, you can park next to me, like that way we can walk in together and not one of us is sitting there awkwardly waiting for the other person, type of thing. And he refused to park in that parking spot because there was water there. And I was like, oh, okay, well, he didn't want to get his car wet. And it wasn't like a massive puddle. It was just a very strange thing for me to encounter. So that was like immediately a red flag. I was like, really? Like, I'm used to dating guys with like trucks and not really afraid to get dirty. And so when this guy won't park in a wet, tiny puddle, it really threw me off. But anyway, so we go inside, and I could just tell, like, this is not going to work out. Like, he was mansplaining things. He was kind of basically talking down to me because he probably felt that he was better than I was. Maybe he was. I don't think so, though. So immediately I go to the bathroom, and I'm like, okay. Like, he ordered us a drink. We cheers, took a drink, took a sip or whatever. And then I go to the bathroom. I text my friend. I'm like, I need to get out of this date. And so she, thankfully, I came to the rescue, got out of the date, and I ended up hanging out with my friend until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And so it was a bad date, but it ended in a good night. it was not going to work out between me and that guy. I'm trying to think if I've ever had really any other bad dates. I did hang out with this other guy who I met on Plenty of Fish as well. It was very, very cute. He was probably 7 years younger than me. And I think he was like barely 21 and I was like 28, 27, 28. And I went back to his house after drinking. And I stayed the night at his house. And of course, things progressed. And immediately afterwards, we're laying there and he sits straight up in bed and throws his hands up in the air and starts singing, "All I do is win, win, win."
Oh no.
It was so awkward. I was like, oh my goodness, this is not happening right now.
You're like, this what you do every time?
It was not good, but that was that experience. So I don't know. I feel like those are two pretty interesting experiences I've had.
I'm still thinking about the guy with the puddle. Like, what do you think he does? You know when you're driving down the freeway and one of the sprinklers broken on the freeway, it's like spraying into the lane.
That's what I was like. I could not understand it. I didn't know if, and his car was nice, yes, but it wasn't like a car that couldn't be touched by water,
Yeah.
It's like just like a Mercedes, but it wasn't, I don't know. It wasn't worth like driving all the way across the other side of the parking lot to accommodate your car to not get wet. So there's that.
He's out there driving. He's like, "Get away, flies! Don't touch my car."
Right? That's what I'm thinking. Like, there's other factors that come into play besides just a tiny puddle it wasn't even going to be like under his foot, so if he opened his door that he'd step in it. It wasn't anything like that.
It's wild.
That was an uncomfortable situation, but I guess everybody has their own quirks.
Right? With Plenty of Fish, because I was on there too, did you find that it was hard to like actually connect and meet up with people, or?
I don't know. I think that I was mostly the one who did not want to end up meeting up with anybody, because I just made it, not excuses, but I just made it harder for myself than it needed to be to actually meet people in person. I would rather just hang out with my friends instead of going on these dates with these guys. And I think that's how I've always been, where it's like, I know that I'm going to have a good time with my friends, and I'd rather go out with my friends than meet a stranger and possibly spend this evening with somebody who I am not interested in.
Yeah.
Because that's always been I just want to have a good time. I don't want to ruin my night with somebody that's not going to be that fun. Now things are changed. Now my time is very limited. And so trying to go out and do anything is a lot harder because my schedule is just a little bit more challenged than it was way back then. But
I know. I think about like, I used it for food to pass the time. Like, I don't got plans tonight. Let me see if somebody messaged me, And
I think with me, like, I was never worried about like, oh, I'm gonna go to the bar by myself. I don't want to do that. I never cared about that. Like, I would just go by myself, and I'm a talkative person, so I can go to a bar even now for happy hour or something by myself, and I'll have a conversation with a bartender or have a conversation with somebody sitting by me. You're never alone in public.
Yeah, I think I was more like, I didn't want to pay for my meal. And I'm an indecisive person. I never know what I want to eat. You can ask my boyfriend now, like, even just for lunch today, he was like, I had plenty of time. I was at acupuncture laying there for 30 minutes with little needles in me, and could have thought what I was hungry for. And I get home and he's just like, "Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go?" I'm like, I don't know. rather anybody else decide. I'll eat any food, so it's more like just take me somewhere, I guess. But
Yeah.
I would always be like so indecisive. Even when I would meet up with people, it was like if I knew where I wanted to go, I'd just go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't figure it out most of the time, and so. But yeah, I would use it for anything. Like if I just didn't have plans. Like I think I had 4th of July weekend off one time, and it was kind of rare. And my family does fireworks at my brother's house or what have you, but nobody else like does anything fun, and I don't have kids, so it's kind of pointless for me as a holiday. Like, yeah, you go, you eat barbecue food, but that's not what I wanted to do. And this guy had messaged me, and he was gorgeous. I mean, he probably still is gorgeous. I can't even. And he had one of those like elite 24-hour fitness passes.
Oh, yeah.
The one that's off that freeway too, that's like all fancy. I
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
wanted to go.
I know which one.
Yeah. He was elite in his fitness goals and his lifestyle. I don't even remember what he did, but he must have messaged me or something, because I still don't remember how we met. We didn't meet in person, and invited me to the river with his homies. I'm like, yeah, I don't have plans. That sounds great. Like, so I drove down there because they had already been down there for several days. I just had a couple of days off. Drove down there, and they had a boat, a nice house with like a couple of rooms and stuff, and there were like 2 or 3 other girls there maybe, but not my style. They all had Botox lips, full hair done in wigs and stuff like that when we went out on the boat. They didn't want to mess with their hair. They had their makeup all done. They didn't want to get in the water, and I'm like, I'm ready to jump in. Like, it's hot. I'm sweating balls over.
Yeah.
I'm ready to just jump in and get stupid, you know? Like, I don't want to look. And none of the girls would get in because they didn't want to get their hair wet. And, but they did want to, like, twerk and dance on the boat. And I was like, what is this? Like, this is real. I thought it wasn't real. I thought it was, like, just drunk 21-year-olds that they get on video all the time. But no, they were older. That whole group was older. And that night, you go down to, I think we were in Havasu, but you go down to the sandbar along like the bars and stuff, and you park your boat, and they had a massive fireworks show.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, in the canal.
Mm-hmm. And all the guys were kind of like paired up with their girls, and I had my dude, and then there was one spare guy. And there was a couple that was on the edge of the boat, and we were sitting there with them, and then they started making out, and my date disappears. Like, straight disappears. And you know who else disappeared? That one random guy. And I'm like, wow. And then the 2 that were sitting next to me stopped making out, and they're like, hey, where'd homie go? And I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, I knew it. And they kept insinuating that he and the other dude went to go hook up.
Oh my gosh.
They're like clueless about the whole situation. And I was like, wow, that's why like he hasn't touched me, he hasn't done anything. He's been just super polite, just
Makes sense.
getting me drinks, making sure I'm okay, and like just being the nicest guy ever on my little 4th of July weekend. I thought, I'm like, with this stud muffin, I'm like, wow, this is great. And turns out
He didn't want you.
he didn't want me. He wasn't going for my side.
He didn't want what you had to offer.
I'm like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. I'm sitting on like the edge of the boat with this couple that's just having the best day ever.
Wow.
Drinking my life away.
I feel like you didn't really get catfished in a way, but also like not, it's like you were definitely led on to believe.
I mean, he, even after that weekend, he still like pursued me to an extent that I was confused. I'm like, what is this? Like,
He wanted you to be his beard.
is that what it's called?
Yes. That's honestly like that's what it sounds like to me. I don't know. I don't want to assume somebody's, motives, but that's what it sounds like. He wanted you to be his beard.
It's hilarious. But yeah, I had a fun weekend other than that, and that's kind of how I like the app for that reason. I could just go on adventures with people and never talk to them again, and it was just
That's so funny. See, I always, like I said, I always met people in person. I'd go to this one nightclub on Thursday nights, and I was always meeting people there. I met some hockey team there, and did you go? I feel like I went to that club with you one time. I don't know. We're going every Thursday for a while. Anyways, I met some hockey team there
you
once, and I
still
was
go?
like, do I still go?
Yeah.
No, but that place is still there.
Oh, okay.
I went to a restaurant by it recently, and I was like, wow, this place is still here. I don't know how great it is now, but yeah,
Did
it was always fun.
Did you ever go to and I hope it's not the same place, but did you ever go to the Brandy Iron?
No, I never went there.
Okay.
I wanted to.
Because our same friends would go there all the time. And I went there, not recent, but I would say like, we went when we were like 18 years old because you could go when you're 18. And then when we turned 21, it was like the best day ever because we could go on the.
I remember we were talking about going there recently.
And so we went back. And I was probably 28 at the time. And we went on a night where it was 18 and over, and I didn't realize it. And we walk up, and there's like these little tiny girls with like bows in their hair and stuff. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I feel like we're walking into like Disneyland or something right now. Just like all the kids. And when we were out on the dance floor, there was like a younger guy that was, I think it was his birthday or something. Everybody was signing his shirt, his white shirt. And my friend's like, go hit on him. Go. I want to live vicariously through you. His head just looked like it hadn't developed yet. Like he looked like an alien. He was so young. I'm like, why are we here? This is so weird.
See, I remember going to another bar called Montana's, but that one was 21 and over.
I've only been there once. And I think it was weird because at Montana's, if a guy, no matter who he is, if a guy asks you to dance, you're supposed to say yes. If you say no, it's like extremely rude. And
that's so weird.
If you do it to the wrong person and they're local or what have you, you're gonna be, they're gonna all hate you. They're all gonna put you on blast.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's uncomfortable.
I
think I only went there twice.
Old guys kept asking me to dance, and I'm like, I don't know this song. It doesn't matter though. They didn't care. They wanted you to still dance with them, or they're gonna outcast you. Kind of like the Stampede too. We went to the Stampede once, and I mean, I showed up in like a cute dress and whatnot. We're out there dancing, and like people would come over and be like, "Can you put on some more clothes? Can you do this? Can you do that?" And it was like, this place is so.
Is that down south?
It's in Temecula. Yeah. I just felt like people there were like really, truly cowboys, cowgirls, and they wanted you to be very polite and proper. And I'm like, I came to the club to dance and have a good time. Like, I don't know.
That's so funny.
What do you think the place to take a date is?
The worst place?
Yes.
I don't know. Probably any place that like makes the other person feel uncomfortable, really. Because it could really just differ. Like if the other person's not athletic and not interested in sports or something, you don't take them to a place where you're going to be physically active, right?
Trampoline park.
Yeah, exactly. Like honestly, I probably would never go on a date at a trampoline park just because that does not sound fun to me
I'd be in
personally.
pain after.
Yeah. I mean, a rock climbing gym would probably be fun, but as long as like both parties are on the same page with where you're gonna go and like know what to expect, that's probably the best outcome. But because yeah, worst date place, I can't just name a place just because of the fact that everybody's different, you know.
Do you remember
And
before all the apps though, it was always like first dates went to movies?
yes. And I honestly, I think one of my first dates that I ever went on in high school was we went to the movies and then we went ice skating afterwards. And I thought that was super cute. I thought that was fun. And I look back at it and I'm like, wow, that's like the only time I've ever been ice skating. Um, but that's a pretty cute little first date. That's like an adventurous first date idea, even seeing the movie, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a good, I feel like that was cute. Like my first real date.
I always got anxious inside of the movie theaters because I would either fall asleep or I'd feel like I wanted to ask questions and talk, and I like couldn't
Yeah,
do.
movies. I feel like movies. It's a good first date ish, but it has to be accompanied with like dinner afterwards or a snack or something afterwards, just so that you can actually get to know the person, because you can't really get to know somebody um, at the movies, you know. And I don't know. I remember going on a date with this guy that was I've known for years, and we were actually like in the same friend group, and we just went to Starbucks, and he paid with a gift card. And I mentioned I don't even know why I mentioned the gift, because to me, it didn't bother me that he used a gift card to pay. But I told my friend, and she was like, why would he use a gift card at Starbucks, like to pay? I was like, who cares? But now I feel like if you used a gift card at Starbucks to pay, like nobody would even know because you used the app, right? Like you could totally use a gift card to pay for a coffee date if that's what you're doing. Which, like I said, I did not even care, but my friend was like appalled by it. So that's what I mean. I feel like everybody has like such different standards for dating, and maybe mine are just on the ground. I don't know. Because like I'm just more laid back when it comes to a date, especially with somebody new, because you don't I don't know. It's hard enough to like ask or like acquire or secure the date,
Yeah.
and both people are probably going to be a little nervous.
Do you get nervous on dates?
Yes, and that has led to unfortunate first dates sometimes for me, because I have gone on a first date with a blind date. I was very, very nervous, and so I went and I had a couple of drinks with my friend first, and I was doing keto at the time, and I ended up drinking too much and showed up drunk to the first date. And he laughed very, like, I don't think I didn't say anything inappropriate. I think he just wasn't to going out with a girl who was going to show up drunk to his first date. So, yeah, he was not feeling it, and it ended very quickly. Like within the first 20 minutes, he was just like not having it. So
His loss.
it was his loss. I'm so fun.
You're like, that's how it was gonna be every day, so he missed out.
Right? Like, come on.
I remember going on this date and my friend set me up and was like, I've known my friend for a really long time and I don't trust him at all. He's set me up so many times where it's like, what? This guy sets me up and he has me meet at a yard house, which I'm like, what? That's weird. I didn't get to talk to the guy beforehand. Usually my friend would give me his number or whatever and we'd chat first. My friend was like, no, you guys are going to meet at yard house on this day, this and that. I'm like, what is going to be happening? Because I felt like he was going to show up and do like a video of us and my reaction. And he didn't, thank God. But I used to have a extreme fear of gingers. I mean, it's funny because now I'm with one, but at the time I was like extremely, I don't know what set it off, can't explain it, but I would get like hot sweats, I would feel nauseous, like just out of nowhere, just looking at him. And I was like, and so I show up and this guy's ginger. And I'm the whole time, I'm like just looking away. I don't want to make eye contact with him. I'm like, just trying to get through the date to see if I can last. And the whole time too, I'm looking to see if my friend's there to like surprise me, like make fun of me. It was horrible. I don't know.
See, I'm always the one that like not always the one that sets people up, but I set people up like in a good way though. Try to connect them.
I'm trying to do it in a bad way where you set them up with their biggest fear.
No, absolutely not. No, I'm a nice friend, I guess you could say. Because if I know two people are gonna hit it off, like I met this one guy and we ended up hanging out quite a bit for about 6 months. But I had a feeling like he would hit it off better. Like he had so much more in common with one of my friends. And so I was kind of bummed because I told him, I was like, hey, I really think that you should try and date my friend. And he's like, that wouldn't be weird for you? I was like, no, it wouldn't be weird because I think that you guys actually would get along great. And I told her about him and we had all hung out. Like we actually went on like a double date at one point and they did hit it off. I was on the date with him and she was on a date with his friend. So I thought that was kind of weird. But they exchanged numbers and everything. And like I said, him and I were just like, I don't know, friends with benefits in a way, I guess. I don't know how you would explain it. Like I don't know if you would call it dating. Anyways, so I was kind of irritated because I went to Vegas for New Year's and I found out that when I was in Vegas that they had gone on like a date. And I was like, neither one of them told me. And I felt like, I don't know. I'm so conflicted on if I should have been bothered by that because I felt like neither one of them told me. So I felt like they did it behind my back when I wouldn't have even cared that they did it. But I found out like third party, like from somebody else that they had hung out. And I was like, what? Why? Like, why didn't they tell me? I literally was telling them that they should hang out. Anyways, they didn't end up hanging out much after that because then he got back with his ex-wife. But, you know. So, there's that. But
I wonder why people always, like, I don't know, if I broke up with somebody that I was married to, I think I'd be done, you know?
yeah. Well, and I know that so I met him shortly after he moved out of his home with his wife, and they were in the process of getting divorced. Like they were separated. He was living somewhere completely different, and I was, anyways, yeah. So I knew for a fact that he wasn't still in contact with his wife because he told her like, in order for us to like be back together, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and she was very against doing any of that. So they stopped talking for like 3 months, and then he kind of got word from family that she was maybe going through the process of what he was requiring of her. And so I had in the back of my head, I was like, I wonder if they're ever going to get back together. But it was no like sweat off me at all because I was just like, okay, if they get back together, like they're married, like whatever. I was just trying to be a good friend to him as well as, like I said, we were hooking up, but we still like we went to church together, we spent Christmas together, like we were still doing like friend type things as well as not friend type things.
Yeah.
But then he met up with me, met up at one point, and he was like, I'm going to get back with my ex-wife, so I have to end our friendship. And I was like, that's fine. Totally. Like, I did not care. I appreciated that. He like took the time to like tell me. But yeah. And I think they're like, I've creeped on them a little bit and on Instagram. I mean, this was 2012. So 10 years ago.
Yeah.
2012,
Still together.
2013. Yeah, I think they're still together, which is good. I'm happy for them.
That's good. Have you ever met someone at the bar that you like continued to stay in contact with, like dated further?
Well, that guy, I met him at a bar. And then I'm sure I have. I'm just trying to think, like.
Like, was I that drunk that whole time?
No, I think because I honestly feel like I've lived 50 million lives, but like between my divorce from my ex-husband and I divorced my ex-husband, and between that and when I met my current person, there was only a couple months. And I wasn't out meeting a bunch of other guys or anything like that.
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't out like trying to find anybody new because I was like, I don't want to be married again. So
Yeah.
I it's hard to find guys who you tell them I don't want to get married and then have them not take that as, oh, this girl's just trying to hook up.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
gotta use your words. All of
yeah.
them.
Well, and that's the thing is like when you try to be honest and upfront with people, sometimes I feel like they take that differently. Like you said, if you tell them like I'm looking for a relationship, but I'm not looking to get married, they look at that as like either a red flag or they look at it as, oh, I can string this girl along and let's see what I can get from her. So
I've only I'm sure I've met people at the bars where I stayed in contact, but one that keeps like coming up is when I used to go to it was a bar that I would go to all the time, and I would go by myself. That was my spot that I didn't want anybody to find out about. And I would go there and plan like my life. I would bring my calendar and I like jot where I needed my flights and where my hotels were for each weekend that I was off. And I remember going there one time and there was this guy next to me, and I don't know what he started talking to me about, but he starts talking to me and he's waiting for friends to show up. He was not attractive at all. Not attractive. Not my type, I guess I should say. And his friends showed up and they were all very nice. All not my type either. They were all like just super nerdy looking. Like, I don't know. They just suits and ties, and that's not my style, right?
I do have a story about when I followed my friend on a first date and I videotaped her.
What?
Yeah. She was going on a first date with this guy, and I was like nervous for her, and because she didn't know the guy. She'd met him at a bar, and she was like, "Oh, I'm going on a date with so and so that we met at the bar," and was like, "Oh, that's weird," because he was kind of like he was questionable, and so she's like, "Yeah, we're gonna go to BJ's or something like that." She's like, "We're gonna go to BJ's at this time." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go. I'll go ahead of time. I'll sit at the bar and I'll watch you guys." And so I did, and I recorded it because I was like, I just wanted to make sure she was safe. That's all.
You didn't record the whole thing, though. You just...
No, I'm not gonna waste my entire film roll on that. No, I just took like a couple pictures just because I thought it was funny. I stayed for like 2 beers, and then I left and hung out in my car and waited for her to get done because she was a little worried. Like, she's very much like doesn't like guys pick her up from her house. Super safe. But she also was a little nervous that this guy would like follow her. And I was like, why are you going to go on a date with somebody who you that concerned about? Anyways, so.
Did he turn out to be a weirdo or no? It was just all...
They didn't go past the first date.
Oh, no.
I don't think that they talked again.
Oh, no.
So it was one of those dates.
Yeah. No, so that guy that I met at the bar, he invites me, his friends show up, and he, like, introduces me to his friends. We all end up doing shots, and it was me antagonizing them, and, we ended up closing out that bar, and I was sitting there with this group of nerdy friends of his, and he's like, all right, well, we should eat something. And so I think I drove them through a Del Taco drive-thru, or maybe, like, yeah, I drove them. I, like, had some of them in my car, and I drove them through a Del Taco parking lot, and I was just gonna drop them off at their house and leave, and he's like, no, come in. And so I go in, and, like, they're all eating their food, and I was, like, not having it. I think I was on keto at that time, too, so I didn't eat Taco Bell and things like that. And, his friends, like, slowly start dipping, and he's, like, still, like, he gave me a full tour of his house. Like, so weird. I'm, like, this is this plant. I got it here. I really wanted to make it look really modern and chic in my house, and this is this, and it toured me the whole house, and I had, like, a really hard time leaving, and I had to avoid my bar for a while after that.
I feel like situations like that come up, and you're like, feel like you're stuck, and that's where it's like, do I want to be that nice person and entertain this person while they're giving me a plant tour in their house?
I don't know how to be mean, though. I don't know how to be like, yeah, I've had it. I'm out. You're a nerd.
I can't. I might be kind of, I don't know, aggressive or whatever when it comes to dating, but I'm always still want to be nice, and I try to err on the side of, like, I'm going to be nice. I don't want to be a bitch to this person. I don't want to be rude, and, I don't want to be that girl that tarnishes this guy's outlook on dating for the rest of his life.
Right? I remember it was, like, the longest hug goodbye, too, and those are the weirdest.
Like, thanks, but I'm going. I'm leaving
right?
now.
Like, I gotta leave. This hug has been too long. It's sad. If it would have worked out, he lived, like, down the street, like, it would have been perfect.
Yeah, that's the opposite of long distance.
Right? It would have been the worst, because I would have had to move in real quick.
Oh, gosh. At least you wouldn't have to move very far.
Right? Do it in a couple loads.
Perfect.
Do you have any... What's your best date? Have you ever had any really awesome dates?
I don't know. Because I have, like, I have different... I've had some dates where we went to the Melting Pot, my first and only time that I've ever been to the Melting Pot, and that date lasted, like, 4 hours.
You cook your own food, right? Like, everything?
Yeah, but it was... I don't know. Like I said, it was my first time ever going to the Melting Pot, and it lasted 4 hours, and I was like, this is a really long date. But we had so much fun. Like, we talked the whole time. I think I ended up dating that guy for a little bit longer, like a couple months. He took me to Reno. We lived in Northern California. He took me to Reno, and we stayed in a really, really nice hotel. As nice as it can be in Reno, I guess. But we had it was like a suite. He got a suite. And so, like, it was like a fancy date or a fancy night away. That was the first time I tried oysters.
Ooh.
Trying oysters in Reno, probably not the best idea.
That sounds risky.
It was risky. My whole life, I guess, back then was risky. I mean, he also had a interesting job that provided him lots of money. Let's see. I don't know. I've gone on Disneyland dates where it's just been like almost like a fairy tale the whole time, basically. Those have been fun.
And I know you like Disneyland, but
I
like
love Disneyland.
when you go on a date and you're in those lines for hours and maybe you don't go like for a first or second date, but you're like, isn't it, do you ever go on a hot summer day and you're just like, what the fuck did I do?
At that point, you don't wait in line for hours, and you just go over to the other side and have a beer.
Oh.
That's what I do. or if it is during the summer, like a nice evening time, going at like in the evening time, and because like Disneyland does have some like decent restaurants where you can go and have some good food and good drinks. That's fun.
Yeah, I've always gone and I like get in this long ass line. I'm just sweating all my makeup off and.
See, I'm not the kind of person to go to Disneyland or a theme park and like really dress up. Like I want to like cute, of course, but I don't. I'm not going to be like one of those content recreators who are filming their entire day and make sure that they look perfect the whole time.
This was before Instagram. Like this was before this. I had to be like heels, platforms were more comfortable for me. Can't do it now, back shot, but like back then it was like heels and makeup and hair, and then you would get in a line and it would be like melted off and like this is horrible. I want to go home and shower already.
That's funny. No, I don't know. Like I think Disneyland or any theme park really can be a fun date. As long as you go, it's like you said, not a first or second date. Like if it's like you've been dating for a little bit, because when you are stuck in the line, you have nothing else to do than talking and people watching, which is always fun.
Yeah.
Like at Knott's Berry Farm, they have lots of people watching. I guess at all theme parks they do, right? But like Knott's or like Six Flags,
especially.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a big theme park person because I think it's a little like trip away from reality for a minute.
Yeah.
I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I enjoy it myself.
I always think about going to Disneyland, but then I think about all the lines. We did have a really good time at Magic Kingdom. Well, I did. I dragged my boyfriend in to go, and we were at Magic Kingdom, and I was trying to ride like some of the rides that I thought would be a little different than Disneyland's, and like Peter Pan, and it was exactly the same. Just it was the same. I don't know, and so we ate at like the Beast Castle, which was really cool. But then, and the food was amazing there. But then we got into the line for the Snow White one, and I could tell the kids were driving him crazy. I think Disneyland's a place you take to like a first date if you want to find out if the guy likes kids, like wants kids.
Yeah, they're open to children.
Yeah, he definitely does not. I can, not right now, definitely not. That's a big no. No, he was having fun. They have like a spinny barrel thing with gems, and if you spin it all at the same time, Snow White appears or something. And he span it a few times with the kids, but after that I had to take over because he was over it. But we get out of there and he's just like, can we go wherever there's gonna be like no kids? And I'm like, well, we're in Disneyland, like Disney World. And there's gonna be kids everywhere. And I was like, we could go to Epcot, but I'd have to pay a little extra. And he's like, yeah, let's just do it. And so we went to Epcot and did like the food tour thing. And that was really fun. But we tried to ride Ratatouille, and it was supposed to be 80 minutes, and it turned out to be like a 3-hour wait.
Oh my gosh.
And he was so mad at me for that line, and he didn't want to wait in any more lines. I wanted to ride Frozen, and he was not having it. It said 90 minutes. I was like, it's going to be just 90 minutes. We've eaten and we've drank and we've chilled. Like, let's just go stand in line for a little bit. And he would not do it. So I don't know. I think it has to be somewhere where you're comfortable with the person, because if you're gonna stand in that long of a line, you want to be able to have silent moments.
Yeah, I think that's probably the hardest part. I remember, growing up in Southern California, going to high school and stuff in Southern California, going to Disneyland or going to Knott's Berry Farm or really any theme park was like the ideal place to go for like a date in like high school or something like that, because you got you away from your parents all day. Like I remember having like Knott's Berry Farm passes as a kid, and like not as a kid, but like as a teenager, and being able to just like go there and like meet up with your friends, or go there with like a cute boy and
Right?
just spend the whole day, like, because like where else are you gonna go as a teenager with a person that you're dating at that time, I guess, for a full day that your parents are actually gonna, or my parents were very strict, so I wasn't gonna be allowed to go over to a guy's house or have a
Yeah.
guy come over to my house to spend a few hours. But if I was going to Knott's Berry Farm, my parents felt like, oh, this is probably a little bit safer of an option than having her at a person's house, you know?
Yeah. I didn't even tell my parents that I was meeting a boy there. I always like.
Oh, I guess I never really came out and told my parents that, but I think that they always assumed that I was going to meet guys there.
Right?
But I'd go with like one of my girlfriends, and then I'd, probably meet boys. I know
Right.
that for a fact that I did, but my parents probably always assumed that as well.
When they had like what was it? They had a nightclub over by Star Wars Land, the old one. They had a nightclub.
Oh, yeah. So they don't do that anymore, but they have like something for kids. It's like a kids dance party, and it's actually super fun. It's
Yeah.
like they have
But I remember
music.
they had like, it was like a nightclub, and
Mhm.
I think I found out about it because my mom, we would go watch the fireworks at the Disneyland Hotel in the pool area. We would sneak up to the jacuzzi area, and it was never locked back then. And we would hang out in the jacuzzi and watch the fireworks. And I remember there was one time where someone was telling us about the club, and I was like, oh, I'm checking that out. And I went without my parents like the next time. It was fun, but
That's funny.
I guess I didn't know how to dance, or I didn't know what clubbing was, because that was like, whoa, this is outrageous.
That's so funny.
All right, well, do you have any advice for ladies or the gentlemen out there that are trying to date?
Communication, probably. Communication's the key. It's okay to be vulnerable at times, Like,
Yeah.
it's okay to say like what you're actually looking for or what you're not looking for. I don't know. I see a lot of like TikToks on, saying what you should or shouldn't do, and I feel like some of them are very like black and white. But it's okay to have some gray in there, You don't always have to be like set in your ways. A little bit of flexibility is nice too.
Especially coming from like a world where, okay, we were quarantined, we had to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
So many ways to communicate, but then people still don't know how to use their words and like just say what you feel, like say what you mean.
Yeah. I mean, I know that in my past, like I've been afraid to say when something was bothering me because I didn't want to make that person think negatively of me or be turned off on me. But now I'm just like, oh, that's not being my authentic self. That's not being true to what I want or what I deserve. So I think understanding and believing that like, hey, I'm going to tell you regardless of maybe you're not going to like it, but at the end of the day, I'm going to have spoken my truth and been honest with you about how I feel about things.
Yeah. No, that's for both sides though too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like in my current situation, we've come to that point with each other where we're like, if something's bothering me, I'm going to say it, and understanding that the other person might not like what I have to say, but at least they can either change the situation or not, you know?
Yeah. Are you in a relationship? Are you a person that thinks, what's the belief? Don't go to bed angry?
No, I don't believe that. Because sometimes you need some time to cool off. And
Right?
okay, I will say, example, I, in my head, created this whole scenario of how this day was going to go. You know, we had an event that we were going to, and I was like, this is how it's going to happen. He came home and said, oh, I was talking to so and so about this, and like I invited them to come with us. I was like, in my head, I was like, wait, all of these scenarios I had come up with, like inviting another couple to go with us or more people to join us was not one of the scenarios that I had played out. So I definitely not overreacted, but I like closed up, and he was like, what is wrong? And I didn't even understand like what I was going through at that time. I just kind of like froze up and was like, oh, okay. Anyway, so I go to the next day, and then I woke up kind of upset, but then I started thinking about it, and I realized I was like, I'm not even upset with them. Like, I don't care that these people are going to join us, but I think I wasn't prepared in my own head to like that my scenarios weren't going to play out, right? And so, and I explained that to him the next day. I was like, hey, I wasn't mad at you last night, and I apologize if I came off as being mad at you. Like, that wasn't my intention. And I basically put it all out there. But I know that if we had that discussion the night before, I probably would have said something. For sure would have said something that like made him upset. And that wasn't even what I needed. So I know for me, I do need time to reflect. So trying to stay up all night and argue it out, like,
Yeah.
let's be realistic. I need my 8 hours of sleep. And
what if you don't come up with a solution and then you're just mad or going to bed, like ticked off?
But that's the thing is, like, sometimes when you're in a fight and you go to bed, right? Even if there's not a solution when you go to bed, okay, that's fine. The next day, you know, that person's, I'm assuming if you're in a healthy, committed relationship, that person's still going to be there the next day. You could talk it out at that time when you've had a moment to rehash it in yourself and be like, okay, this is why I was truly upset. I wasn't upset with him. I wasn't mad at him. I was just frustrated because what he threw a wrench in my made up plans that I had. Like, he didn't even know about these plans that I had, but he threw a wrench in them by just suggesting something else. Like, that could have been a major fight, or I could have been angry at him about it when it really didn't even matter. Like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it was like, oh, I just needed to communicate to him that, hey, this is what I was thinking. So
Valid. Well, thank you for being on the show.
of course.
I would say go out there and get more stories, but no, I think you should introduce me to your friend.
Definitely. I know. At some point, if you want to have me back, I'd love to come back and chit chat about life.
We'll get you on I'm trying to get people to write in a story that maybe they don't feel comfortable coming on and sharing, or maybe they just don't have enough to talk about, and just write a story and about a date or something. And I want to get on and do where I read those stories with somebody.
Sounds good.
But thanks again.
Okay, sounds good.
Alrighty, I hope you guys enjoyed episode 3. As a little side note, I just wanted you guys to know, here at Lily and Lost Boys, I am working as hard as I can to get you content as quick as I can. However, you've probably noticed none of my episodes are coming on at any specific schedule. So, to combat that, if you want to know when the most recent episodes are released, any news updates, and whatever else our growing little podcast launches, please follow us on Instagram. It's going to be at Lilyandthelostboyspodcast. I'll link it in the show notes, but that's where you're going to get the most up-to-date launching, releasing, all that. Now, I am super excited for what's to come. We have a couple new guests coming in, and I'm really excited what they're going to be bringing to the next few episodes. So I hope you stay tuned, and as always, take care, but be careful who you bring home to mom.